you have the power to change yourself. And I am going to prove it to you in this podcast. Well, not me, but my friend who I reached out to because of her name on Instagram, Amy is Brave. I'm like, okay, Brave Single Moms needs to connect with Amy is Brave. We became fast Instagram friends, and you're going to love her because she is the example of who most single moms aspire to be in their future. She's a single mom of 3 adult sons, owns her own insurance agency, is sufficient on her own, more than sufficient on her own. And that's where we all want to get to be. Amy, I'm so glad you came on the podcast. Thank you.
So glad to be invited and to share my knowledge and encouragement with all the single moms out there that are just stuck, because you don't have to be.
Yeah. Why do you think we get so stuck? I mean, I've been there. I've been stuck.
Because, and you and I touched on it when we spoke last week, we're okay with being complacent. And there's no growth that comes from being complacent, and you have to dig within yourselves to figure out how you're going to grow and change and make life better, not only for your kids, but for you. It's all on you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else.
Right. And I think single moms, I'm just speaking for myself here. I don't want to criticize. This is a no judgment zone. Okay.
Absolutely.
We love you. Use me as a cautionary tale. Is I felt valid in my excuses. Like I felt 100% valid that I could make the excuse that, look, I had 3 kids with someone who was providing for me and they were all little, and that's why I only had a part-time job, and this is why I'm struggling, and I have every reason to be struggling right now. So like, this is my excuse. And you know, even though I did it to myself, but I allowed that excuse to be validated.
And sometimes there is validity in those excuses, because we oftentimes are put into a situation that we don't have control over. We didn't choose to get married, have babies, and then 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road get divorced. That's not the game plan that most people have. So yes, there's validity in those excuses, but excuses make you a victim of circumstance. And you have the ability to change the circumstance so you're not a victim anymore. And that's what people lack, is the knowledge and the ability to change things for themselves.
So we want to help give that to you today.
Absolutely.
I had a moment. I wonder if you had one of those aha moments where you were like, oh, I'm the one that has to fix this. It was, of all things, it was a soccer dad. My son has always been an athletic kid. And when he was little, he was on this little travel soccer team. And the travel soccer parents are like a next level parent. And I was like new in this, and, you know, and I was doing it by myself, and I had my 2 little girls in tow, and I was a hot mess at that point. And then I heard him telling his son about, who was tired at the game. And it was like, you know, again, comp soccer parents, they're just like, do it, dirt, do it, not feeling good. I don't care if you're throwing up, and I don't care. Yeah. I mean, I'm like that too. So
I'm a
and
football
he's like,
mom, so
he goes, I mean, his kid was like 5 or 6 years old. And he goes, excuses are the nails that build the house of failure. And I was like,
oh, that's good.
Oh. And I looked over, I was like, what was that you said? And it was an aha moment sitting in my little soccer mom chair that I needed to hear, that says, no, Amanda, you have to carve out your own successful life. What was your aha moment?
It was for me. So my ex-husband, he had been a really successful concrete man. He's probably would still be the best in the business in the area that I live in, but he chose to follow his passion of being a football coach, which I never will squash anybody's thoughts and dreams and wanting to go after those things. But when it set him up to, and my kids were little, my oldest was 4 and my twins were 3 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was shortly after my dad had passed away. I was 30 years old, and it was very unexpected that he passed. So the next month, in January of 2003, I really sat there and had to think to myself, like, okay, what's going to happen now? And then my ex-husband's business started to crumble because he chose in those moments to leave his job sites at 1 o'clock every afternoon to go coach football for everybody else's kids. He chose other people's children to be his priority over
Ouch.
his own. But when I was trying to do the books for his business and calling contractors and saying, hey, you got bills to pay and all that, and I couldn't buy diapers. I couldn't buy formula because he had no money coming in because he was coaching football. Right then, I was like, you got to do something different. So February of 2003, I left him. I literally took nothing from my house except the furniture that my mother had given me, like bedroom furniture, and I rented an apartment for me and my 3 kids. And I was like, okay, this is it. We're going to do this. So that was
Yeah.
my aha moment in all of that. And it was
Wow.
hard. It was real hard because with him being self employed, he kept his income showing very, very low.
Mhm.
So I didn't get child support. It was court
Mm.
ordered, but I would keep taking him back and forth to court. I'm like, I need child support. And he only had to pay a really minimal amount of money, like literally $125 a week for 3 kids, not per
Oh
kid,
my God.
3 kids. So that was like, okay, what am I going to do? I got to go back to work. And I had to be on state assistance for childcare vouchers. And the time I didn't do food stamps or anything like that, that was fine. But it was the childcare portion, the
Yeah.
payments that I needed. So and I was in insurance then. I was working at an insurance agency. I actually lived upstairs from the agency. So at my commute, I didn't have a commute to work, no nothing. I was close to my kids' schools, whatever. So it was finally going back and forth, and I ended up having to file 2 restraining orders against him, which made it hard because I was the football mom. I ran the youth football association. I got my kids to practices. I ran all of that. And to just be doing it all alone with no money sucked, plain and simple. I'll
Yeah.
use other words, but I'll keep it PC. Um, so
You had every excuse in the world to just
yeah,
be
I
not
did.
like,
And
no. Yeah.
I could have folded. I could have gone and moved in with my mom. Of course, my dad had just passed. She had space. We probably could have helped each other, but hell no, I'm not going to go back and live with my mother. So I made it work. But I also, during that time frame, because of the assistance I was getting, I couldn't take raises. I couldn't get my income to come up because then it wouldn't balance out that way. It couldn't cost me money to go to work. And I needed to work not only to bring income in, but for my mental health. And
Yeah.
me helping other people was what I needed to do. But that also led me into the most toxic relationship of my life with my prior employer.
Oh.
And I didn't realize how much stress it was putting on me to take on all the responsibility that I had to in my job, which wasn't appreciated, wasn't acknowledged in ways that I needed it to be, and to be actually verbally abused was really difficult. And I had a run in with my employer at the time, and very unpleasant words were projected onto me. And I was like, oh my God, but I'm a single mom of 3 kids. I can't quit my
Yep.
job. What am I going to do? So that was 2012. That was the second aha moment. And
Mhm.
all of this time, too, I'm drinking. Alcohol is playing a huge factor because I need
Yep.
to drown everything that's happening to me. But in doing that, the excuses were growing.
Yeah.
The alcohol was growing, the excuses were growing, and I'm drowning. I can't stay afloat. What am I going to do? I knew in 2012 that I needed to leave that job, but I couldn't do it. So the alcohol was to the point I would leave my office at 4:30 in the afternoon. It would take me 2 minutes to walk across the bridge to the other side of the river where there was my favorite restaurant. I would sit at my bar stool. There'd be a drink already waiting for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't work when you got kids. You got to go pick up here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
DCF even got called on me. Was unfounded. I wasn't abusing my kids with alcohol or doing things to make them
Right.
unsafe, so that was unfounded. But it hurts and it
Yeah.
stings. And what do you do? So 2015, actually Sunday, will be 8 years that I left that job. I didn't have a plan. I had no job, but I needed to save myself. What I did that day, I didn't give my notice. I wrote a note. I left my key on my boss's desk and I walked out of that office. I blocked all the phone numbers for people and I was done. Went
Wow.
home to my kids, to my 3 sons, and I hugged each one of them. And I apologized for taking out my work frustrations on them because that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then that was October 1st. November 25th of the same year, 2015, had a really bad episode with an ex-boyfriend and alcohol. And I should have been arrested that night, but I wasn't, by the grace of God. That was the last night I touched alcohol, and I will be 8 years sober in November. And
Good for you.
that was the biggest turning point in my life because I couldn't get any lower in my life. The belittling, berating that I took from my family for that was horrible,
Yeah.
but it saved me, and I'm grateful
Good.
for it. And here I am today.
Good. Here you are now saying through all of those decisions that we have the power to change things for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So what was it
Absolutely.
within you in those moments? Because I would think that you would feel really weak, not very powerful.
Oh, I was weak as hell. When I left
Yeah.
that office that day, I had no job. So I sat at home after I apologized to my kids. My oldest was about to be a senior in high school, and he was just started a junior. And I knew he wanted to go to college. He was pretty set on it, and Syracuse was where he wanted to go. I live in Massachusetts, by the way, so it's about a 4-hour drive. So the next day I said to him, I said, all right, I call him Tater. His name is Taylor. I said, get in the car, buddy. We're going to Syracuse for a visit. So we did. And it was the most enjoyable ride I've ever had with one of my sons. I could have left him there that day. He loved it. He did finish. He's got a journalism degree from Syracuse. He's doing well, lives in California now. And my twins, they're 24 years old now. They own a house together and they full-time jobs. They've worked together for the past 5.5 years. So my kids are doing well. But I was not in that moment. I didn't know I was going to do it. So I started subbing in the school system for a short time. It's what I had to do to kind of get myself. And I had no money. I literally had no money because you got to remember, I got no child support coming in.
Right, right.
I had taken a personal loan that I basically used to fund myself, to pay the payments and pay for whatever I needed in the short time that I didn't have a job. And subbing in the school systems does not pay anything.
No.
And then because I did have such a good career, I mean, I had 21 years in that insurance agency office. I was headhunted by another agent, big company. And I went to work in another agency not far from my house, huge pay cut by 10 grand a year, but I had peace of mind.
There you
And it
go.
was a fresh start. So I worked there for a few years and ended up transitioning into a really bad situation with another employer. I won't get into details, but left there and started my insurance agency in the farm office that I went to work for. I went to work on a farm. I was going to be the farm manager. The farmer he was combining his business with his partner's business. Going to be a big thing. Whatever, one person stole from the other, didn't turn out that way. So I opened my office there for a very short time. Wasn't working out with that employer. My paychecks were bouncing. The business, I couldn't get the business going fast enough. So January of 2020, I said, all right, I'm done here. I'm taking the insurance with me. Again, went home to my kids and I'm like, okay, mom doesn't have a job anymore. Mom quit. But I said, I'm going to open my own agency on my own terms. I said, I have the money because I had 2 paychecks to the tune of $1,500 that had bounced each. And my 3 kids were sitting in my living room and I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I just went and I looked at this office. It's perfect for me. I signed a lease. I don't have any money, but I'm going to make it work. And one of my twins, he looked at me and he said, Mom, I'll pay your office rent.
Oh.
And my other twin said to me, I'll buy your computer. And they did.
Oh.
I paid them back. They have all been
Mhm.
reimbursed, but I couldn't have done it without my kids because they knew I could do it. So that was February 5th, 2020. Signed my
Oh
lease.
my
Here I
God.
am, going into business on my own terms.
Yeah.
March 15th, 2020,
Oh,
COVID.
I know.
What am I supposed to do?
Yep.
I made myself be a mobile agent. I went
There
out,
you go.
I met because my office building was shut down and I was
Mhm.
just starting, put a big Facebook post up, had within a half an hour, I had over 200 and something likes on it because everybody was like, oh, my insurance agent is back. Because when I left my agency of 21
Oh,
years, nobody knew where I went. I didn't knock
yeah.
on doors. I didn't solicit business from anybody. If anybody wanted me to write their insurance, they found me. So I made it work. I went to your home. I went to your office. We did policies over the hood of my car. If you wanted to meet at Dunkin' Donuts, all right, let's get a nice coffee and talk about car insurance. I did whatever I needed to do. And so it worked. And I have grown substantially, so much so that I'm very much, again, I have Brave tattooed on me here.
Oh my God, I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I made a very brash, brazen, bold, brave decision last Monday to open a second office, a second location.
Mhm.
Back in my hometown where I worked as an insurance agent for 21 years.
Wow.
What I didn't realize in those 21 years of struggling the way that I did, I was building my own business. I
Yeah,
was
you were.
building the relationships with my customers. I was providing the customer service, the personalized service that they needed. So now I'm in a position to not only have my original office, but I'm going to open a satellite office. I signed my lease on Saturday and I'm going to make it work. I don't know yet when I can move in because it's a brand new building that's being done,
Yeah.
hopefully in another month, month and a half. But I'm going to make it work because
Good.
I have to. There's
Well,
nobody else to rely on.
right. I said sometimes it's a really good thing to not have a plan B because
You
it
know
has
what
to be a
plan B
must.
is? I'm plan
I
A.
don't either.
Amy is my name. You're Amanda, so we got the A's
Right.
covered.
I'm the same thing. I mean, this podcast is about you, but I just want to encourage or just let you know I've been through such a similar thing. I took a job in 2020. And I was working at this news radio station and reporting on everything. And I had this experience in Christian radio. And then this morning show host left, and they recruited me, and I took it, and it ended up being very toxic and with a verbally abusive boss. And I was like, oh my God, I have 3 kids. And I've taken this job, and it's the pandemic, and I was high anxiety. Like I would literally go to, like, I'd have to like do breathing exercises in my car to walk into the office. It was so bad. And like being yelled at by my co-host, and then nobody listening to me. I'm like, guys, like, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And thinking that I had just ruined everything, and then leaving that at the end of the year and going, I'm going to keep going all the broadcasting skills I have. I'm going to keep podcasting, and I'm going to start my own podcast network. I'm just going to do that. And just did it because, and everyone's like, well, how did you do that? I didn't have a choice.
No, you just do it. You figure it out. You find a way because there is no
Yeah.
choice in that moment.
And then deciding, oh, now I'm going to start coaching single moms. I can do that too. I can do this, and I can use my podcast, and we'll coach single moms, and because it was a must.
Yeah.
But now that I'm in it,
and you've
yeah.
never, and I sat there last night. I had a difficult conversation with my very best friend. She's also in a situation, single mom, struggling. All 3 of her kids live with her now full time. And my kids did the same thing too.
Yep.
They chose at some point in time in their teen years that they wanted to live with me full time. Of course, I'm not going to deny them.
Right.
I wanted them to maintain whatever kind of relationship they could with their dad because it's important. And my best friend is doing the same thing. But there's a time and place, so you have to really decide, I have got to change. You cannot wallow in self-pity and think that things are going to change for you. It does not work that way.
Yep.
I had, I'm going to call it a blessing. It
Okay.
wasn't at the time. I had the blessing of hitting rock bottom by being an alcoholic. If I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't have had that, to make myself really dig deep and look within myself as to what happened, what I was the queen of the victim mentality. I couldn't be that anymore because that's not who I am truly. I was living with that excuse. And so I've helped other people get sober. I'm not going to call myself a coach because I'm not that. I've not taken any
Mm-hmm.
certification or anything like that. Do I give advice to people? Am I bold? Absolutely, because I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you. And if
Good.
you don't like it, don't come ask me. The one thing that I regret from my family and my closest friends, they didn't have that tough love for me through all those years leading up to me failing with the alcohol. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I didn't get that hard support, and I needed it.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just have to come to a point. And actually in 2012, I decided then I'm not, because I was taking my ex-husband back to court 3-4 times a year. For what? I wasn't getting anything. And finally, I just threw my hands up in the air and said, my peace of mind is worth more than this. I can't continue to take time off of work. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I'll make it work. It's going to accrue. The Massachusetts Department of Revenue is a wonderful source to go after things eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a significant age difference between he and I. He is now of retirement age. I get his Social Security.
Ah, there you go. There you
The
go.
child support arrears are now being paid
Mm-hmm. Through his Social Security.
through his
Mm-hmm.
Social Security. So
Okay.
my kids are grown and gone. My oldest is 25. The twins are 24. They don't live at home. They haven't lived at
Mm-hmm.
home in 3 years. But guess what? Still comes to me.
There's your
So
availability. There's your rent. Yeah.
there's sometimes you have to weigh out, like in 2012, I was like, I had to really think about what was my peace of mind worth. It wasn't worth going back to court anymore. He didn't care
Right.
enough to pay for his kids. And actually, still to this day, he will tell people that he supports 2 households. First of all, no,
In
you
his
don't.
mind,
And
he
second
does
of
with
all,
his, yeah.
$628.13, that includes interest and penalties, does not support a household.
Right.
It
Right.
never even bought groceries for my 3 boys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Whatever. He can think whatever he wants. And that's another thing that I had to really embrace the realization of is I was very much a person, I cared what other people thought. I care about other people's opinions. Their opinions are none of my business. I don't care what they think about me. They can think that I'm
Yeah.
purple today. I know I'm not. I don't care. I
Yeah.
know now who Amy is, what I bring to the table, and I will never diminish my value again for another human being. And that's
Good
what
for you.
single moms have got to realize is our value that you can't put, there's no amount to put on the value of us as single moms.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get paid child support, but what I got with my kids was the fights in my living room dressed in their underwear. I got the punched out doors because they were mad at each other. I got them swearing at each other. But I also got the snuggling in bed to watch Red Sox games every night or watch the episodes of House Hunters, and we'd try to figure out who was going to pick which house. That's what I got. And again, you
Mm-hmm.
can't put a value on that. That's not $628 a month. That's a
No.
lifetime of memories. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to get into a place. First of all, the biggest thing as single moms we need to do is we do not ever, ever badmouth our ex to our children. It
Right.
is not theirs to bear. That is
Mm-hmm.
our burden. You take it
Mm-hmm.
aside, you bitch to your family and friends outside of earshot of your children because that is
Yep.
their parent. We don't
Yep.
have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to sit back and wait for your kids, and it takes years and years and years for them to understand all the hard work and the sacrifices that you had to make. My
Mm-hmm.
oldest son said to me one day, I couldn't pay for Syracuse. I had no money. He actually had to write his father off completely. I had to write a letter, my mother had to write a letter, and my
Oh,
son had to write a letter to Syracuse, writing his father out of his life financially because he didn't help. That's huge
mm,
for a kid to have to do that, that
yeah,
acknowledgement. So my son worked every summer, 60, 70 hours a week at a local tent company, putting tents up. Shortest kid around, but he had the highest work ethic ever. He
yeah.
looked at me one morning before he was leaving for work, and he looked at me, and he said, "Ma," he said, "you know, no matter what shit you had going on in your life," he said, "you were always on your grind for me and my brothers. You can't get a higher compliment from your child than that."
Mhm.
Because I did. I did what I needed to do for my kids. And was it hard? Was it awful? Was there deep, dark moments? Of course there was. I wouldn't change a thing.
Good. So, Amy, what would you say to a single mom who's maybe she has every reason in the world to be upset and down? Maybe she had to move back in with her parents and she's got her kids there and she's trying to figure out, what do I do here? I think there's a temptation to, let me fix this with a new relationship of somebody that's going to be like able to take care of me and the kids. I did the same
I
thing,
did. Awful.
which never works. It just repeats the cycle. I say it all the time. You are
Bad.
not the exception to the rule because no one is. That's why it just doesn't
No,
work. No one's gonna. There's no such thing as Prince Charming. It's a fairy tale.
it is.
So,
It's just
and
crap.
any man that wants to be Prince Charming is probably not a good man because there's some issues there.
There's
So,
such odds.
right. But what would you say to her when she just says, I don't have the strength to change things for myself right now? I feel
You don't
so
have a choice.
down.
You don't. And if in that moment you are feeling that way, call me.
Yeah.
Text me, email. I'll give you my contact information. I'll
Yep.
pull you out of that spot. I might yell at you,
Mhm.
probably going to kick you
Yeah.
in the rear end. Because
Yeah.
again, I'm bold and I'm brash, I'm
Mhm.
brave, and I don't hold back because I don't believe in sugarcoating. But we all have the power within us to make this work. We just have to dig deeper. And you really have to find a place of, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And that's when you're
Mhm.
going to find it.
Mhm.
If you need help, I'll help you.
You're awesome. I love you so much.
I love you, and I
So
love all the
how
single moms.
I know I do too. I do too. It's just like we're like this special group that all you have to do is be like, you're a single mom. Okay, I understand 100%.
Yeah,
That's all you have to say.
literally.
So, and those oh shit moments,
There's a lot of them.
what is
They
the
still happen.
I do too. What is those moments? Where can you dig deep to find the power? How do you go about like going, okay, Amy and Amanda, okay, I'm going to do something to change this. Like, where do you find the strength?
You literally you got to look in the mirror. I sat there with my friend yesterday. I said, pick your phone up. I said,
Mhm.
look at your reflection. I said, that's where you got to look. Don't look at
Yeah.
me. Don't look at the people passing by. Don't look at
Mhm.
your ex-husband's number or the pictures on Facebook of what better life he has right now. Look
Yeah.
at your phone. Go stand over in the corner and look in the mirror because
Yeah.
that's the only place where your answers are. If you need resources and things like that, then okay, then in that moment, so you work at McDonald's, you're a single mom. Okay, what the
Yeah.
hell am I going to do? Okay, go to
Right.
management. Can you pick up some extra shifts? Have you asked
Mhm.
for a raise? Do you feel
Mhm.
valuable enough to ask for a raise? It doesn't matter if
Mhm.
McDonald's, whatever position you're in, because
Yeah.
that's another part of it. And we touched on it. A lot of times in the relationships we've been in, we don't have value because we have been taught that, especially women, we don't have
Right.
value. You
Right.
do. Your
Mhm.
time is valuable.
Mhm.
Don't sit there and go sit with somebody and talk with them for an hour and not think that you're not shouldn't be compensated for that.
Correct.
You have to
Correct.
be. And whether that is the compensation then comes back. Again, it's not always monetary because I'll take those house hunter nights and the Red Sox games a
Mhm.
million times over than a dollar bill
Mhm.
placed in my hand. Granted, the
Absolutely.
dollar bills help, and I did buy a Powerball ticket this morning. That's the other thing. So I did. I bought a Powerball ticket, and I have said this for years and years and years. If I happen to, and it doesn't even mean winning the lottery, I mean, I want to get to a place where I can give back, whether I give
Oh,
of my
yeah.
time or money. And this is giving
Mhm.
back. And I'm serious when
Yeah.
I say if somebody needs some help, call me. I will help you. I will
Okay.
do my best for you.
Mhm.
The one place that will get money from me is the child care facility that took care of my kids before they were school age, and then the same place that I sent them when they went to camp in the summers.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it without them. I could not have done it without
Wow.
the constant child care. I'm still friends with these women. These women have no
That's
idea the
amazing.
impact they had on my children's lives, not let alone
Wow.
mine. They deserve the money. So
Mhm.
that's a way of giving back. And if I could volunteer my time there, I probably will. I'm just thinking about that now. That would be
Mhm.
a great thing for me to do. But you dig in if you need resources. But the first thing is I guess the monetary thing for people, that's huge for single moms. There's some single moms that rake in a lot of money every month. That's
Mhm.
fine.
Mhm.
But if it's just the day-to-day stuff, you don't know how you're going to get 3 kids to 3 different sports fields. You
I
got to
know.
call in help.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You do.
And
You
there's people
have
that
to.
wanna help, by the way.
There
Yeah.
are, but I think we become so focused on having to feel and be independent. And if we ask for help, that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But again,
No.
because I hit rock bottom with alcoholism, and I say this to every person I talk to that is having trouble with alcohol, your strongest moment in your life is when you reach your hand out for help.
Yeah.
Because you're acknowledging within yourself, I can't do this by myself right now, and I need somebody to help me. It's not a sign of
Mhm.
weakness, it's a strength. In order for you
Yeah.
to ask for help, it's a true strength. That's the first thing
Mhm.
when somebody looks in the mirror.
And you know who your true friends are, and the people that you can count on are the ones that say yes.
Absolutely.
And the people that run away, I know I've had people like that in my life that weren't there when things were messy because
Mhm.
they only liked the public version of Amanda Carroll who was on the radio. And then when things were messy, they're like, no,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
want
think
to participate.
so.
But you
Yeah.
got to be
And then you're
careful
like,
for the
oh,
ones too, because there are some of
yeah,
the friends that just thrive on the drama of other people's lives.
true.
So
Yeah.
you got to be careful and selective with who
Very.
you let in close. Obviously, with helping with your kids too, that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. But I know your kids have friends. Guarantee you they
Yeah.
do. So you call up
Yeah.
Jimmy's mom and say, "Hey, Joni, can you
Yeah.
come help me today? I really need help
Mhm.
getting one
Mhm.
kid to that ball field, and I
Yep.
know your son's going
Mhm.
there."
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to.
I did it all the time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you literally have to. And the other thing too that I noticed as my kids got older and the exhaustion level was greater with myself. Sometimes I couldn't go to a ball game. Sometimes I needed to just stay home and enjoy 2 hours of quiet. I will
Yeah.
get you there. I will pick you up after. I love you. You play with heart. I would still punch him on the chest before that football game and say, go out there with heart. I'll be back to get you when you're done.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just had to.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's not a weak moment. It's not that I didn't care to watch my kids play ball because they did. I was the football mom. I
Mhm.
ran up and down the side of that field. I would get out there. I'd
Yeah.
hold the chains if people didn't show up to do that.
I
Did
love
whatever I
that. Yeah.
needed to for my kids. But sometimes I need time for me.
Mhm.
And you
And
have
that's
to be
okay.
okay with that. Because again, the whole
Yeah.
thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. There's no truer words.
No. You
Even if
have
you're
to do
filling
it.
up just a tiny bit, there's something there. Because if you're,
Anything else? Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Anything else that you're like, man, if you could even maybe go back to your former self or a single mom that's just starting out, what advice would you give her to not make some of the same mistakes that we've made?
The biggest thing is if you have a group of friends that are in similar situations,
Mhm.
listen to them. Really take in what they're saying. It's not, again, this other friend that I speak to, it's not that I have issues with how she parents or what she's doing, but I'm talking to you from experience. Don't do the same things that I did. If I'm telling you
Yeah.
this scenario and it was hard and I didn't like it and this is what I would have done to change it, and you don't do that, okay, first of all, that's your own choice. But then don't come back to me 5 months later and say, oh, well, I talked to this person. They said, well, I can just go ahead and do this. And I'm thinking to myself, uh, did we just have this conversation 5 months ago? The exact same thing. Wasn't good enough for me to say it to you, but somebody else did. I don't care in that moment as long as that aha moment goes off for you. If you
Yeah.
get it from me, if I repeat it 10 times to you, but person over here says it for one time and you pick up on that, okay, let's go with it. But
Mm-hmm.
take stock in the advice that other people give you. We're not just out here talking because we want to. We've done it.
Yeah.
I don't
And
want
we're
you to
like,
do
no,
it.
listen. Mm-hmm. This doesn't work.
No.
I talk to single moms all day long, and it's my absolute pleasure to help achieve goals. And the ones that I know that are going to be successful compared to the ones that I know that I can help versus the ones that I'm like, she's not ready yet,
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that are willing to break from their past.
Yes.
The ones that are, all they want to do is tell me about what happened. And I can't get them to say, so what are your dreams for your future? What do you want for your future? If they don't have an answer to that question, then I know they're not ready yet
Correct. Very
to
much.
work with me.
Very
Mhm.
much.
So I had a good friend challenge me. As a radio consultant challenge me when, I wanted to do all the things in radio. Turns out I can do all the things out of radio. But he's like, Amanda, why don't you be done doing things small?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you're right. I have the right to do that. And I think I was raised in this conservative culture and then worked in a conservative culture. I had gotten so used to playing small, like I was rewarded for playing small because it made men that I worked with uncomfortable if I didn't play small.
Absolutely.
So, and then, but that man telling me, why don't you be done doing things small was like, I do have a voice and it does matter. And I can dream and I can make my own dreams and they don't have to get married again as soon as possible.
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah.
No. You pave the way of your life, and that's, I think we get stuck in that is because we don't realize we truly are captain of our own vessel, captain of our own ship, whatever. We're the race car drivers. We got it. We can control all of this. Even on the days that it doesn't feel controllable, you really are still in control. And if you
Yeah.
have to take a moment to fall apart, go ahead. Don't stay there.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're going to drown in your tears. And I'm just telling you, in Massachusetts, we've had enough rain this year. I don't need any more tears falling from the sky to put me in a miserable 14 out of 17 weekends this summer. It has rained. No.
Oh,
Amy needs some sunshine.
yeah, you do. You need to come over to California.
Then I'll go visit my son. I'll make it a double
Yeah.
trip.
Come
But
enjoy the drought. I know.
yeah, and it isn't, and I don't mean to laugh at the situation,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have to sit here and think to yourself, I just have to laugh at this moment because this is the most bizarre, stupid thing that's been handed
Mhm.
to me on a plate, whether it's your ex-husband's new wife and she looks like a troll or whatever. But again, laugh at it, let it go.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit what you thought your life was going to be 9 years ago? Because it's not that
It,
way now.
nope. And make it better.
Create a
Make it
future for yourself.
absolutely better. I love that, Amy. Be
Yeah.
so busy focusing on the future that you want that you have zero time to think about the crazy stuff your ex-husband, his wife, his girlfriend, their family are doing.
Because
Mhm.
when you do that, they're renting space in your head for free.
Yep.
Evict them.
I say that all the time. And
I
just
do too, and I mean it.
yeah.
Just don't.
Hmm.
Stop entertaining the stupid stuff. And that's what it is.
And just replace it. I just had a coaching session. I posted a video about this, about write yourself. You're like, but how? Maybe you're listening right now, but freaking how? Well, you know what I did? I wrote a list of all of the things, the thoughts that I wanted to have in my head. Like, I'm a millionaire. I'm confident in my body. I am like best friends with all three of my kids. I am planning my vacation to Italy. Like I had all these things that I wanted to be going on. And when I had these thoughts of, oh my God, he's just like, why does he hate me? Why does he want to make my life miserable constantly? Why is he here? Then I would be like, no, where's my list? Where's my list? Where's my list? I'd be like, nope, I am planning my vacation to Italy. And I would immediately get online and start looking at things.
Sticky notes on your mirror.
Yep.
I am worthy. I am valuable. Put them in your car.
Yep.
Put them on your desk
Yep.
at work. Put them in the freaking bathroom near the toilet. Who cares?
Yep.
Stick them on your phone. Have a reminder come up. Set alarms for yourself that literally says,
Yep.
I'm awesome. Amy is brave.
Yes.
Set that as a reminder. You can do it. That you have to do those. They sound stupid. People are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit there
Do
anymore
it.
and
Yeah.
say, I am valuable. For a long time, I'm a money magnet. I still don't have a lot of money.
Still that.
Oh yeah. I had on my bathroom mirror, I had a sticky note that said money magnet. I said, I am a money magnet. I'll tell you better after the next Powerball drawing if I really am, but it's just, it literally, and it is, and it sounds so little and so, I don't want to minimize it, but they're huge. Daily affirmations are ridiculously huge because that changes your mindset. One of the other things that I am so grateful for, it cost me a small fortune because my health insurance didn't cover it, therapy.
Oh yeah, me too.
It gave me the tools. Actually, that's the biggest thing I can say to anybody who's just now facing this or they're feeling stuck or something. Find a therapist.
I agree.
I don't care if it's in person, online. It can't be friends or family because it will taint your relationship with them. You've got to seek professional help to sort out your thoughts, to allow you to be rational with your decisions, to give you the tools to cope with those times when the past seeps in, to push them back out the door. It is so valuable. And I spent 11 years in therapy. They were probably the best 11 years of my life.
It's wonderful. I've done all different forms of therapy. Right after divorce, I had a great therapist, Beverly. I like the kind of therapist that tells me like it is and gives me things to do, not the one that just listens.
No, you can't have.
And I lost a long-term relationship as a single mom, and I went to therapy. And BetterHelp through the pandemic was great because it was virtual, and they have a scale of how much you can afford to pay, which is fantastic. So
BetterHelp,
you could be laying in your bed and all cozy and getting on there. So
yeah, and that's what I've told people. I'm like, literally, put your kids, your dogs, whatever animals, whatever distractions you have.
yeah.
If you choose 7:00 at night, you shut them out of your bedroom, say, this is my time, and you focus on yourself. You sit there with like we're doing now, podcast, you talk with a therapist. That's what you do to get and start. You may have to interview 2, 3, 4, 5 therapists. Who cares? But find somebody that works with you, and that's what you do. It's probably the most important thing that someone can do that is facing and it's not just for women, single parenthood.
Yeah.
I
feel like we should get a deduction on our taxes if we're going to therapy. Just makes us a better citizen.
I will never have to pay taxes again, my friend.
I would encourage everyone to be in therapy.
There'd be a whole lot more therapists employed. I'm certain of it. I think I need to go get my degree. Hold on, time to go.
I'm a money magnet.
Yeah, literally.
Well, here's the thing about, again, I reached out to Amy because I saw that she followed me on Instagram, and I'm like, Amy is brave. Like, this is my girl. But what I love about that is I know that you are not feeling possibly right now very brave. Bravery is not a feeling. It's not something you inherit in your DNA. It's not a gene. It's not something you just have. It's a choice. It's a choice you make despite everything else. And it's also a habit. And the more brave things you do, you can look back and think, no, wait a second, that actually worked out. I didn't die when I did that. So like, I can be more brave. Once you do just one brave thing a day, it builds.
It absolutely snowballs for you. And it's not, I don't feel brave every day. And as a matter of fact, this weekend, besides one trip I made to go actually sign the lease for my new office space, I cocooned the entire weekend. I did not speak to text anybody else. I couldn't. I literally couldn't. I was so depleted emotionally and
Yep.
physically. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I've been very busy with some friend
Yeah.
got married, so a bunch of different things. I wasn't brave. I was
Hmm.
a puddle. I was a puddle of tears the majority of the weekend. But I'm okay with it because guess what? Monday came around and here I am. I'm okay. Well,
You're
it's
good.
Thursday now, but you get the
Yeah.
point of it. Is yeah, I needed a moment to crash. I needed a moment to just be within myself, and I didn't want the superficialness of the outside universe coming down on me on the
Yeah.
weekend. That's my time.
I
And
love that.
very much we don't, and I'm in a different situation now. I don't have kids at home. I
Mhm.
understand that. But again, sometimes that's even paralyzing because when you get to a point like I have, when my kids are all grown and gone, I sit there and I'm like, okay, I did my job too well. My
Well,
kids don't
that's what I
need
say all
me.
the time about my teenage daughters. I'm like, "Hey, do you guys want to hang out with me?" They're like, they're like, "No, like we're going to the mall." I'm like, "Hey, okay, I guess that's good that you're super independent." And that's again, use this as your cautionary tale that I know that you want to make your life all about your kids. I get it. But kids grow up and leave the home 99% of the time.
Absolutely.
So
And you
you
lose
have
yourself
to have a
in
plan
that.
for your future that includes something for you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to be big. It can be something that's very small. And I even back, it was 2014, 15, I don't remember exactly. And my kids were older and they were going off doing different things. And I was like, okay, I have a lot of free time on my hands. I went and got a second job just to
Mhm.
fill the time. And I was like, okay, I can maybe meet some people. Maybe it'll be good to maybe I'll new friends. Or it turned out to be horrible, but whatever. I tried it. But that's the thing
Yeah.
too is we're too afraid to try things. Give it a whirl. The word like my office, the second office
Yep.
location, it may fail. I may not be able to afford to keep it open. But guess
Mhm.
what? I have this office. I'm never
Yeah.
closing this office. But if I don't try, I'm passing up a huge opportunity to become a money magnet, to
Right.
better myself, to be
Mhm.
brave, to help others. I
Mhm.
pass up that opportunity and I will never live my life from a place of regret. Never.
Absolutely. Indecision is worse than the wrong decision,
Absolutely, it is.
and failure is not a tattoo. It is just a bruise that heals. It
Yep,
makes you
very
stronger.
much.
The only
Very
failure, in
much.
my opinion, is not trying anything.
Yeah,
You're awesome.
yep.
I love you. I wish you lived closer to me,
Me
but
too,
we
because
could
we
do
have a lot of fun. And I'm really
I think
serious though.
we would stir some stuff up.
Next time I come to California, I'll be looking you up.
Come
I
visit. Come visit.
don't care if it's
All
that
right.
10
Any
hour
last words?
drive.
Anything that you didn't get to say that you really wanted to say to brave single moms?
Love yourself.
Yeah.
Please love yourself. Believe in yourself and be brave. And in those moments that you can't be, if you just feel like you can't, like there's just not any hope, turn to a friend, turn to
Mhm.
an animal, even get that unconditional love from somebody.
Yeah.
It's just temporary. None of this is permanent. And
Yeah.
I'm really serious. If you want my number, you want my email, call me. I'll give it to Amanda. She can put it out there. I don't
Okay.
care.
I
I,
will.
I will
You
do the
message
best
me
that
and
I
I'll hook it
can
up.
to help people.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Thanks for coming
Thank
on
you
the
for the
podcast.
time
You're
very
awesome.
much.